currently looking for a market maker sell model. Reason being is ES has failed to take out the previous week high, whereas Nasdaq has, meaning we now have SMT relative to the previous week's range. And so if I take the previous week's range, what we can see is that we were currently in a premium, and so I anticipate us now reverting to a discount, more specifically these imbalances here. And so my next short liquidity for now is Thursday's low, these relative equal lows. Notice how AM session low has been engineered just above the previous day low. So I'm anticipating this move higher being a retracement. We've now retraced into the array. So I'm now dropping to a lower time frame because I'm anticipating this to be a market maker sell model. So what I'm waiting for now is a change in the state of delivery, as well as SMT and time to align. What I can currently see is we have these bullish order blocks, which if displaced below, will become a bearish breaker. So that would be a change in the state of delivery. So now it's just a matter of waiting to see what will occur. So we're now entering into a time of interest in about 1 minute. And so either I anticipate us producing a reversal or an expansion. First I need CSD, then I'll check for SMT, and then I'll wait for time to align with price. In that order. Why? Well, because there's no point me looking for SMT or for time to align it with the price if we haven't yet moved into a sell program. Because we're just going to see SMTs that are going to fail. And so we might as well wait for CSD first and then look back to the SMR and say, okay, what's the SMT and does time meet price? We now enter the time of interest. I'm now seeing SMT here, which doesn't mean anything yet with ES. I want the high to form inside of this imbalance, which is an inverse fair value gap, bullish fair value gap displaced below. It's now a premium array. So I want to see high formation here. Because we're now in a time of interest, I'm going to be more aggressive with my entry. And so I can go down to the 15-second time frame to look for an entry. Seeing this bullish breaker here, where we have a low, high, lower low, higher high. If displaced below, would confirm CSD, because this would then become an inverse breaker. I'm currently seeing SMT with YM relative to these highs here, the previous 90-minute cycle high, which is time cycle SMT. If we displace below this array, I'll take a short. So we'll see. ES has now taken this high, which could be SMT. Again, I don't care about SMT until I see CSD. So I want displacement below this price range here. I do now see these bullish order blocks here, which have been utilized as supports. Price displaced below it, that would now be CSD because we've now formed a new high. So this will now be a bearish breaker. So just waiting now, being patient. No CSD yet. So even more SMT, which I'll just draw in. Ideally now we'll see a high formation. Displace below here. I can take a short with my stop above this swing high here. Wait for retracement out because we've had CSD. Wait for retracement back into the breaker now. If we displace below this price range, I'll take a short because now this will become a premium array. My stop above this high. As a short, stop above the high. I will add a position if we displace below here. If we go to the 1 minute time frame now, this is the time frame I'll manage the trades. I'm still monitoring the 15 seconds, so I'm looking to add a position. Add another short, and now my stop is going to be trailed above this high, due to the fact there is SMT. Interested to see how price will trade these order blocks. If price displaces below them, I want it to be utilized as resistance. So I'm going to turn these reds. Same with this imbalance here, which has already been utilized as support on price. You now have this bearish breaker, which should be utilized as resistance. I'm going to set my limit orders. Notice how that breaker was utilized as resistance. That's exactly what we want to see. There is currently no SMT at this high for now, and so I'm not going to trail my stop above the high. Price displaces below this bullish order block, which is our bearish mitigation block. I want it to be utilized as resistance. Now I'm moving my stop to break even. Invalidation for the sell program remains this bearish mitigation block because it's been displaced below on the right side of the curve. So this array now must be utilized as resistance on price. If price is placed above it, then we go back into a buy program. So I'm looking now for a high formation inside of this price range. Notice how the array is currently being utilized as resistance. I don't see any SMT at the highs right now, and so this isn't a high where I would add a position because I need SMT, but the array is being utilized as resistance, which is exactly what we're going to see for bearish institutional order flow to continue. Notice how the array was utilized as resistance. That's exactly what we want to see for bearish institutional order flow. Remember, we knew this in advance. We knew this when price was all the way up here, that this array should be utilized as resistance. And this is the beauty of understanding how the algorithm operates, because we already know in advance where expansions, retracements, and reversals should occur. So I'm waiting now for price to displace below these bullish fair value gaps, which have already been utilized as support on price. If price displaces below them, I want them to be utilized as resistance. So nothing to do now, just waiting for displacement below this array here. As long as we don't displace back above this price range here, the sell program remains valid until we displace below this price range here. So price is now closed below these imbalances plus this volume imbalance. So price has to now utilize it as resistance. If returned to, I'm now going to trail my stop above this swing high here due to the fact there is SMT. I want this range now to be utilized as resistance for order flow to continue being bearish. So we've now just begun a new 90-minute cycle. And so this is now going to be the previous 90-minute cycle low. Notice how the array was utilized as resistance. Again, we knew this in advance. We knew this from all the way up here. We knew this array would be utilized as resistance. Notice I've only drawn in 1, 2, 3 arrays, and each of the arrays we utilize as resistance once price is placed below them. That is precision. There's no SMT at this high for me to trail my stop. So my stop is going to remain where it is for now. Got this imbalance here. Notice how I'm not drawing in every single PD array. I'm being very selective with what arrays that I annotate. And that's because I understand order flow. I understand which arrays should and shouldn't be utilized as support resistance. And that allows me to be very precise in not only my analysis, but my executions as well. Because as we all know, time and price is fractal. So that's target 1 reached. Next target is AM low. You also have this imbalance here, which I'm going to monitor to see how price will trade there. Also don't see any clear invalidation level, and ES has not yet taken out this low, and so I'm going to be very cautious now with my final position, very aggressive with my stop placement, and I'm actually going to trail my stop above this swing high now. My drawn liquidity is actually the previous day low, but because I only have one contract left, I'm just going to target AM session low if it's reached. We're entering into a macro window shortly. So invalidation now for the sell program is the previous 90-minute cycle low, which is here. We've now reached that imbalance. I want to see how price will trade there. It looks like ES is likely to take out the AM session low before NASDAQ. So again, I'll be cautious. We are entering into a time of interest shortly, which is from 2:45 to 3:15. I want to see price displaced below this blue box, which again is that imbalance on the 1 minute time frame. Going to trim my stop a bit lower now, more aggressive. Got this huge imbalance as well. Should be utilized as resistance. We're now entering into a macro window, and so if the drawn liquidity is lower and it hasn't been reached yet, then we should see an expansion leg lower. Waiting for displacement below this array. If we do displace below it, it must be utilized as resistance. Seeing SMT at the lows, closing the position now.